Hi, Katie.
Hi, Dr. Elena. I asked you about cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers?
Cheeseburgers. So,
Not a
so
fan.
I love cheeseburgers. I remember being like 13 or 14 and being very tired. And I just started my period recently. I want a cheeseburger so bad right now. I'm like craving a cheeseburger. And she said, "Oh, yeah, it's because you have low iron." It's like, what? She's like, yeah, well, if you're on your period, you're losing blood, you have low iron, there's a lot of iron in meat. That's why you want a cheeseburger. My actual question is about the experience of having low iron for women. Is it actually true that when you're having a period, your iron is low? Should it be low? Is it a problem that it's low? Talk to me about periods and iron.
Okay. Iron is a long discussion, but we can try to shorten it up and, summarize it. Yes, we are losing iron with bleeding, but we're supposed to regenerate that iron naturally. We're supposed to absorb the iron in the food, green leafy vegetables, animal products, things like that. But consuming the iron also depends on absorption. So iron is absorbed in the stomach. Adequate stomach acid must be present in order to absorb the iron. Mitochondrial function is also very important because this is what generates the production of the stomach acid. And guess what stomach acid mitochondrial functioning depends on? Conversion of testosterone to estrogen. So it all goes back to those sex hormones. So yes, we do lose iron through our periods, but it should not be a problem unless a woman experiences heavy, prolonged menses. So menorrhagia, irregular cycles, or heavy extended periods. When we lose the amount of iron that is not rapidly generated, it can lead to either low iron in the absence of anemia or profound anemia, meaning we're losing so much blood that the blood loss takes out the iron as well. But when it comes to insurance coverage, they only cover iron infusions if you have an iron deficiency anemia. So if you happen to have low iron, but not show a drop in hemoglobin, the insurances are less likely to recognize this as a life-threatening event. They do not cover an iron infusion. So I have a lot of women who present with ferritin levels. What are ferritin? They're transporting proteins that bind the iron and makes it available to the body, releases the iron when the body needs that. But iron is transported by hemoglobin, and that's our oxygen carrying capacity. So if we lose the iron, then we're losing that energy that it gives our mitochondria power to generate that energy. So women will experience more fatigue, more shortness of breath, either just walking on a flat surface or going up and down the stairs. And especially those that have heavy menses that are at higher risk for iron loss through the bleeds, they will experience this kind of symptoms. Interestingly enough, ferritin is not well or routinely checked by primary care physicians. So when a woman comes in to see me and she experiences heavy menses, I always check ferritin.
Mm.
Another interesting anecdotal, so to speak, element there, ferritin levels are considered normal at 12. Okay, but an optimal level for cycling women should be for ferritin anywhere between 50 to 75-ish. So ideally closer to 80, 50 to 80. So when a woman comes to me and presents with an iron, a ferritin level of 15, but the cutoff low normal is 12, I have a very hard time um, with
Accepting that.
other, no, I don't have a hard time. I have a hard time communicating
Oh.
to insurances and to other primary care physicians that the woman needs iron. And especially when there's gut dysfunction and there's lack of that iron absorption, simply throwing a supplement of iron at them and swallowing the pill once a day, we haven't really achieved much, because if we're not able to absorb it, then the woman doesn't benefit from that provision of iron. So temporarily and to help decrease those heavy bleeds, because low iron or bleeding will cause low iron. Low iron will promote the heavy bleeding. So it's a vicious cycle. We will
Wow.
need to balance the hormones. So we have to look at the cycle and regulate that balance between estrogen and progesterone, because that's what stabilizes the uterine lining for a cycling woman, but also pay attention to estrogen detoxification and iron support.
So typically, I think women know enough to associate menstruating with having low iron, just in general. Like you're losing blood, it's low iron. Oh no, pop an iron pill. Typically, that would accomplish actually nothing.
No, typically it can accomplish lots if the
Okay.
absorption of iron is adequate. So if a woman has a normal cycle with bleeding expected between 3 to 5 days, she's not going to lose a lot of iron that cannot be supplemented by just dietary iron. So she doesn't necessarily have to use a dedicated iron supplement. If she absorbs really well, and if she eats a good diet that contains products with iron, she will resupply her iron until, the next cycle, and utilize it throughout the cycle until she has the next bleed. The problem ensues when there is a gut disturbance, there's lack of
Mhm.
absorption, and then there's an imbalance in hormones that creates the heavy, prolonged menses.
Okay. My next question for you for the next video is going to be on defining what a heavy period is versus a light period or regular period. So thank you for that information. That was actually really helpful. I appreciate it.
My
Um,
pleasure.
yeah, ask all your iron questions in the comments, people. See you next time.
See you next time.